YouTube, Capital G here, D&Duel commentary. This is the last video that will look kind of weird like this. The rest of the D&Duel commentary should be fine. All right, so we have Gunsick versus, is that Tantan? Yeah, I think so. No, Tantan. Sorry, excuse me. 1821. Wow, that is high up there. Versus Gunsick, who we actually just saw play, and we know that he's running his crazy mass Destiny heroes with Star Cerebs, like I guess you could call it. So he activates a hero libs. He's wasting no time. He's going straight into Dark Law. He's 1752, I believe. He lost a little bit of his rating because he just lost a game, and this is actually right after the game that he played against 9. Follows it up with he follows up the Dank Law with an instant fusion, and he might be trying to go for a turn 1 Ouroboros, maybe. No, instead he goes into what's it called, Telemaias, and man, that thing has so many materials on it. So at this point, I was like, what is he going into? Like, Pallades kind of makes sense. He goes into Durandal, which is interesting, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I lost it at this point. I was like, dude, this might be the sickest play, because it took me a while to realize, like, wait a minute, why is he using this effect? Here's the thing. Yes, Tantan does draw a new hand, but he can obviously trigger Dank Law's effect, and this is really smart. Gunsick made sure that he left the Shadow Mist on it as a material, so that during his next turn, if he wanted to do it again, he could obviously just make sure that he searches. So as you see, Tantan will get a new hand, and Dark Law will be like, I think I want to take a card out of your hand. This is one of the sickest plays I think I've ever seen in my entire life going first. Like, oh my god, this is like it's almost as hype as when a guy at a YCS made Trishula 5 times with Infernity in the first turn. So he ends up losing Reinforcements of the Army, which wouldn't have been that good of a card anyways, because, like, think about it, you know, you're gonna Rhoda and end up losing a card out of your hand anyways. So what's it called? Gunsick is actually neg 1 in the duel still, because he didn't technically make advantage, but he closed the gap. And you see that Tantan ends up setting a bunch of cards. Now, I would have done the exact same thing. If you think your opponent is obviously just going to set everything, then before they set the last card, just go ahead and use Durandal, make them draw a new card, and then when they draw the new card, just go ahead and banish it. This way, now the game state's pretty much even, and you end up using Shadow Mist, so technically you're +1 in the duel. Now, during your turn, you're actually +2. I mean, at this point, I'd probably just try and go into beatdown mode. I wouldn't even summon Diamond Dude, because Torrential would be a bitch to deal with. But, I mean, you've got 4,800 on board. You're 2 turns away from winning, or should I say 2 battle phases away from winning. I mean, even if you get 1 more attack through, your opponent's really in a danger zone. So let's see if Tantan can fight back here. I mean, it's looking kind of grim. Oh, but he has that Regeki, though. I'm shocked he didn't use it last turn, and that's why you don't overextend with the Diamond Dude. But I am shocked that he did not use the Regeki last turn. Like, why take the damage if you didn't have to? I don't know. So he ends up topping a Rhoda, and just the continual draws and continual cards that just would not have been good against Dark Law. Like, Rhoda's just terrible. We know that he's playing Serteller Knights, and I mean, he should be able to get himself to a Deneb. You know, get a Deneb. Now, the thing is, it took me a while to realize, like, Gunsick actually, if he goes for Deneb, Gunsick actually can't take that many attacks, because he did pay half his life points, and, you know, his life points are and he played instant fusion after that. So, you know, he has to kind of watch out, because he's only at like 3,000. So literally 2 Deneb attacks could kill him. And Diamond Dude can't beat over Deneb, so that would be an issue as well. He does go into Deneb. Like, even if he played Solemn Warning here, like, he'd be cutting it really close. He'd have 1,000 life points. Cowboy wouldn't kill him, but, like, Alsham would kill him. So Deneb is going to search. Altier, 99% chance Altier. Unless you just get Altier. I can't think of, unless you had called a Haunted down, maybe you could get Unu, but just take Altier. It's the safe play. It's going to go ahead and attack. That's met with Book of Moon. And I just assumed that he didn't want to take any damage there, because again, he's only at 1,500. But Book of Moon, not a very good card against Serteller Knights generally. Just doesn't do that much. And you see Nova Alpha's used, and that was like the perfect counter. Not only does he get his monster in the graveyard for Altier next turn, but he gets a draw. He doesn't get the damage in, which is kind of irrelevant. Now, the only good thing about that for Gunsick is you kind of cleared your opponent's field. So at least you can attack them directly. Neither player really can take direct attacks. Like, you can only take each player can only really take one direct attack. So he summons a Scepter, falls into a bottomless trap hole. That was unfortunate. You got to think maybe the Destiny hero, maybe the what's it called? Maybe the Diamond Dude would have been the better play. I mean, personally, I probably would have went for Diamond Dude just to try and swing for the fences. He's playing with fire here. He's going to activate that instant fusion, putting himself at 2,000 life points. So he cannot play Solemn Warning anymore. Elder Entity Norton probably going to come down. Okay, and that's met with a Fiendish Chain, and that's really unfortunate as we know that Norton is going to die during the end phase. Maybe he would have used Fiendish Chain on the Diamond Dude, but who knows? That is neither here nor there because that play never came to fruition. All right, so Tantan is going to play Altair, and that's met with Breakthrough Skill, but does it really matter? 300 attack, and I mean, or excuse me, you have 300 life points left, so now, I mean, that ridiculously powerful opening has been met by Serteller Knights and their power plays, man. Deneb and Altair. Flips over Call to Haunted, and that's GG. Doesn't even need to exceed. All he simply needs to do is summon another Serteller Knights, that being Deneb, and simply attack for game. Gunsick should have easily won that duel, but that Regeki completely bailed out Tantan. Like if he didn't have that Regeki, he would have coasted. Gunsick would have coasted the victory there. Everything was in his favor. I mean, you look at the Rotas that he drew, like those were completely dead against the Dark Law. I mean, he had a bottomless that wasn't doing anything because Gunsick was not going to summon any more monsters. He already had game on board, and I don't know, man. I think that that was just rather unfortunate. I guess maybe he could have used the Fiendish Chain, but the Fiendish Chain wouldn't have stopped. Even if you would have stopped the Diamond, or excuse me, the Dark Law, he just would have beaten you. He would have just beat you down with Durundle. Like Durundle could have just done enough to kill him. I think in like a turn or two, Durundle would have done enough battle damage to kill him. I don't think he would have lived it long enough to really reap the benefits of the Call of the Haunted or the Bottomless. All right, so Gunsick opens up with Instant Fusion. I thought this was kind of weird. I'm like, bro, do you not know you don't have a graveyard? Like, I know Norton is cool and everything, but you don't have a graveyard. All right, so he goes into Telemias again. This seems to be his go-to card. This guy summons this card as much as he does Dark Law. He's going to equip the diamond on it. Okay. And I'm expecting us pretty much to see the same Durundle play. Like, it just makes sense, right? Okay, so Deneb is summoned. All right, that's met with Breakthrough Skill. That cuts off the Serteller Knight train from getting off, well, pretty much derails it temporarily. The only way to derail it permanently is just to, like, banish the Deneb. All right, so he's going to equip a copy of, I can't remember the name of it, Deltaros. He puts Deltaros on it, and then he says, I'm just going to go ahead and go for Pallades. Gets himself a Diamond Dude. He's probably going to want to bounce one of the back row cards. The only way this could have been better for Gunsick is if he would have had Fiendish Chain instead of Breakthrough Skill. Because he could have bounced this Fiendish Chain to his hand, and at that point, you kind of win. Like, you attack over Deneb, and even if the Deneb, or even if your monster dies, you've already, like, you already recycled your Fiendish Chain, so. He ends up bouncing a card. It's going to Mind Crush that Diamond Dude right out of Gunsick's hand. Okay. Now, both players are playing Rotas, so, you know, Mind Crush is legitimate against both players. And not just Rota, but then Shadow Mist as well. Shadow Mist searching cards. You can just Mind Crush whatever he gets, as he just did. So Diamond Dude is gonzo, but he's still just going to simply attack. And some Serteller Knights play Battle Traps, some of them don't, so it's kind of like 50-50. If he had maybe Nova Alpha, he couldn't use it because Gunsick hasn't activated any effects. He just simply went into battle phase. It's going to activate reinforcements of the army. Obviously looking for Altair. Potentially to go into like a Castel or something. Although not sure that would really work because it would get bounced immediately by Constellar Pallades. Yeah, if he fired back a Mirror Force against Tantan, that would be quite effective. Just call that Altair and hope that your opponent doesn't have a Call to Haunted. Even if he does, you can just bounce it to their hand and it wouldn't resolve. All right, so what's he going to go for? Well, what's he going to do? He's going to go for the Altair, obviously. He's going to try and target the Deneb, and unfortunately, that's met with Effect Veiler. Now, you have to remember, if he does activate Nova Alpha, you will not draw a card because you cannot destroy a card that is in the graveyard already. Effect Veiler goes to the graveyard as a cost. He's going to spin the face down, and that face down is just not getting on the field. And you can kind of just go beatdown mode. right now. Yeah, your Pallades is the biggest thing on the field. Most Hotel Knight players don't play Honest anymore. Gunsick keeps a card in his hand. Maybe that's an Allure of Darkness that he simply doesn't want to summon. He does normal summon the Deneb, and that's met with a Solemn Warning. Once again, he cannot use Nova Alpha if that card is set because he doesn't control a Hotel Knight monster. Hotel Knight Deneb never actually hit the field, so he can't pay the cost. You can't tribute something that's like in that magical space between you drawing and between you summoning and, you know, a card being from the hand and the field. Like there's no way you can actually tribute that card. All right, so Fiendish Chain is played, and right now this Pallades has been on the field way longer than I thought it would have. You see a Diamond Dude summoned. Oh, Torrential Tribute is played, and the board is cleared. Now the thing is, I think that Tantan, I think he goofed. Because I think what he should have done was, I think he should have taken the attack and just seen if maybe Gunsick would have summoned. Because he could have just used Torrential and then he could have held on to his Fiendish Chain. Now he ends up burning the Torrential and the Fiendish Chain. He's only getting a 2 for 2, while Gunsick is able to now play, he's able to go +1 off of the Hero Lives. He has to pay a lot of life points, but he doesn't care because he knows essentially he has Dark Claw. All right, so you see Unu played. He's immediately going to go for the Mass Change play. And I think he simply did that to, you know, figure out if Unu was going to, I guess it didn't matter if Unu used the effect or not. Either way, you want to go for the Dark Claw immediately. You don't want your Shadow Mist just to die. Now, he opts not to use Shadow Mist. I didn't quite understand why he didn't use Shadow Mist there. I was like, wait, what? So he opts not to use Shadow Mist. He has the Book of Moon to counter the Bottomless, and ironically enough, Dark Law's defense is actually 1800. How crazy is that? But I'm thinking he ran out of targets. That's the only thing I can think of, is that he just didn't have any targets left. So he ends up attacking, and Unu is definitely going to die, and it gets banished. And now things are looking kind of grim. It's looking like you need an Altier, and you have to draw it. You can't use Rhoda, otherwise it's just not going to work. Dark Law will just banish it immediately. Fiendish Chain is played. And no MST for Gunsick. Now you can Rhoda for it. And we've seen that he gets his Rhodas when he definitely needs them. All right, play goes back to Gunsick. He's just setting cards. So both players are now kind of on the defensive. The Fiendish Chains have largely saved Tantan this duel. Like, they haven't really gotten rid of the monsters, but they've stopped him from taking massive battle damage. He would have already lost his duel if he didn't have those Fiendish. If those Fiendish Chains were breakthrough skills, he'd have already lost, because he would be taking direct attacks and he'd be dead unless he has other battle traps that he doesn't need to use right now. And if only Gunsick had another Book of Moon, that'd be pretty clutch. But his one Book of Moon's already gone. He used it to counter the Bottomless. But yeah, I think that he didn't have any more targets left for Shadow Mist, because there's just no way that you don't use Shadow Mist's effect. There's, you know, get a free Diamond Dude, right? Get something. He could have sided out maybe a copy of Diamond Dude, and I'm thinking maybe he sided out some D-Draws, sided out some Diamond Dudes. You see Summoner Monk played. Now, I don't know if I'd use Summoner Monk against like 4 back row. I'd be really hesitant. To be completely honest, I might just summon Monk and just attack. Like, I think I'd just start attacking with Monk, because clearly Tantan doesn't have any monsters. Activates a hero, or excuse me, pitches a Hero Lives. A card that he can't use anyways. That's met with Solemn Warning. So he ends up taking a -1, but he gets rid of Tantan's, like, probably his best trap outside of Nova Alpha. But I would not feel good about my position right now. Not only are you, let's see, he has 5 versus, well, Tantan has 6, but the Fiendish Chain doesn't really count. All right, so Vanny's empty, or excuse me, Altier is played. And he's obviously targeting Deneb. It's the only target in there. Breakthrough Skill's played on that. Okay. Breakthrough Skill being pretty clutch in this matchup. But the thing is, he still can't attack. Although if he would have had Monk in attack mode, he probably just would have gotten wrecked by just like a battle phase attack. He is going to go for Oasis of the Dragon Souls to go for that same Deneb. He really wants to get that Deneb out, and that's met with Vanity's Emptiness. Now I wonder what he's going to do about that. Because if you let the emptiness resolve, it doesn't even matter if you have like an MST or something. Now both players are kind of in a position where they can't do a lot. But I think if I'm Gunsick, I would want to try and stall this game out a couple of turns. Like, I don't think that I would play any cards. I just set. I would try and get some. I'd try and wait till I get a power card, like a mass charge or something like that, so I can make a second Dark Law, or wait until I draw an MS, because an MST is probably good enough to win you the game here. If Dark Law is online, you're probably gonna win, unless like Tantan has like a breakthrough skill or something like that. But I don't think I've seen him play breakthrough skill yet. Only person who's played breakthrough skill is Gunk in this duel. Obviously, it's on top of his graveyard. All right, so both players are very defensive. Tantan just setting back row. I still give an edge right here to Tellarknights because they have counter traps, and like heroes just don't have counter traps. You can never quite, if you run counter traps and your opponent doesn't, they can never quite account for it unless they're playing like Denko or something like that. Denko or Royal Decree. Maybe you side those cards in. You see Deneb, or excuse me, Altair put in defense mode. This is where Neo's Alias just does so much work. A Star Seraph Scepter would do a lot of work here too. I wonder, with us seeing 19 cards in Guntik's graveyard, if he did side out the Star Seraphs, and I'm thinking he did. Because right now, if he had a Scepter, man, a 1900 beater, like, do you know how far that would go right now under Vanities? You might just win. You don't use the effect because you don't want your opponent to use Nova Alpha and just blow you up and take your Vanities off the field. So I would just summon it, and I would just be like attack, 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 attack. Tantan he hasn't shown us any counter trap, or excuse me, he hasn't shown us any copies of battle traps. Activate Upstart Goblin to draw a card. I didn't like that play at all. I thought Vanity's Emptiness was actually helping him out a lot, because again, you're summoning Monk into 3 back row, and if the Monk doesn't go off, you're probably gonna get wrecked next turn, because Tantan has 3 cards in hand. Any of them can be like a Rhoda or something. Pitches an Upstart Goblin. I mean, he might try and just get a, I don't know what he's trying to go for it, but that's met with a breakthrough skill. So both players are playing breakthrough skill, and now you're kind of left with not a lot of plays. You can't even kill the Altair on the field. There is zero chance that I would have gotten rid of my Vanities. I wouldn't have been willing to do it. Flips over Soul Charge. Okay. That's not a bad play. If you were going to back it up with Soul Charge, okay, because now he can bring out some crazy stuff. And he can set himself up for a second Dark Claw, maybe. He's asking for targets. Obviously, Guntik has a loaded graveyard. He has Shadow Mist and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's not going to happen as Tantan flips over his own Vanity's Emptiness. And now I'd say huge edge to him, because he can simply run over the Monk, and then he can turn it off with he can simply turn it off with a Rhoda, get an Altair, Trevor the field, and just win. And keep in mind, when he Trevors the field, he'll get his Fiendish Shame back. He'll get his Oasis back. He won't get Vanities back because it'll be dead, but that's not the point. So he attacks Monk, and now you just see how many cards, or excuse me, I can't. I'm looking at it as if I'm on doing that work right now. You see how many cards Tantan is up, and I don't know, man. I don't really know that there is a way for Guntik to win, except Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, Tantan destroys his own Vanities to play Duality to get Rhoda, Nova Alpha, and Maxi, and I think Nova Alpha is the obvious choice there. I mean, that's a card that your opponent can't counter unless they MST it, which if they had MST for your Fiendish Chain, that's pretty much useless now because you could just Nova Alpha it. I feel like Guntik has 1 turn to win this duel, otherwise he's going to lose. I think that next turn you'll probably see another Altair played, or a Call of the Haunted, or a Vega or something. He'll go into Trevor, and then he'll just win. Once he makes Trevor, he'll go +3 essentially. Well, technically it's not even +3. It's more like +5, because you get to reuse the Fiendish Chain, and the Oasis can be a +2. So yeah, it's technically like +5. Nah, but that doesn't incorporate the monsters that you have to use to summon the Trevor itself. So I don't even know what. Well, then I didn't actually account for the card that Trevor takes out of their hands. So I don't know what the plus would be, but it's a lot. It's enough for you to basically just destroy your opponent. He loads up his back row, and Guntik ends up scooping. And I just think that, I don't know, there were a couple of questionable plays there. I think there is no way I would have gotten rid of my own Vanities, no matter what. You see that Tantan is now revealing some of his cards. He had a Max C in hand, flips over Mirror Force. So there was just nothing he could do. All he had to do was just summon another Altier or, yeah, pretty much Altier, and you just win from there. So anyways, thank you guys for watching as always.